Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third installment of Into the Void. We are your hosts, Dan and Nick, and today we are going to be going over the paranormal. Now, to first reiterate our parts and our qualifications into this subject, which there are little to none, we have the combined IQ of a master's degree, which is more than most people could say in this day and age. So I think we are on pretty good standing of discussing this topic because we go back very far with getting this subject just involved in pretty much everything I do, at least. But it is so broad and it's so up for interpretation and it's so fascinating. So today we're going to be talking about the paranormal, of what it entails, how people use it, work around it, and just analyze it. So today, let's go over our first bullet point of what the paranormal is. Take it away, other qualified host.
Unqualified. But yeah, this I feel like is just one of those top topics that everyone's like, what the hell?
Mhm.
So I feel like to start off is how did we even get involved with it? I don't know if
Ghost
you remember
Adventures.
if
Ghost
not before that.
Adventures. Oh, before that, I feel like you know that like saying like are you like born evil or did you like learn evil ways? I am fully convinced that I was just born weird, and I was just such at a young age. I was just so fascinated with paranormal stuff because it's so otherworldly and it's so like it just involves beliefs and imagination and spiritual just stuff. And it's fun to think about, it's fun to talk about because everyone has an interpretation on it and everyone has like a different take on it, and it's something that feels very personal, I think. Where do you stand on
Yeah, I think the main thing and what the main topics we're gonna cover is just because it's mysterious.
it?
There's no like I mean there's evidence out there supposedly, but there's no like hard evidence like 100% that's a ghost. And I think that's why so many people and that's how I got involved with it. I'm like, what is this? And I want to like I really want it to be true just cuz it would
Mm,
be so cool. But I feel like that's a bias that some people can have because they want it to be true, so they believe everything.
oh yes.
So that could definitely be an issue. But to first start off, like where we got involved, I think I started in either middle school or high school with ghost hunters
Oh,
when they
we're
were
going
first.
OGs right now.
That's where I mean, I guess it started before. Like we were always interested in like aliens and weird stuff,
Mm.
and I saw this. I'm like, ghosts. Okay, yeah. When other people are like, what? But yeah, I watched that for an hour. It was like on Wednesdays or something. So I just got popcorn, laid down from like 7 until I passed out. So I watched that for years, and they were like, Roto Rooter Company in the day, and at
Mm.
night they switched into Ghost Hunters. And I was, I don't know, a teenager, and I was super fascinated. But then after a while, I'm like, all right, they're not really getting anywhere. I was questioning some stuff. So then I I kind of got turned off to ghosts for a little while, and then I don't even know how. But then we found Ghost Adventures.
It was Zach's jawline. It Ghost Hunters. There. I think like one guy was bald and he had a very like round head, and I think what kind of like drove us to Ghost Adventures was just the unarguable attractiveness that Zach Bagans just possessed. That was just pure like this man is just I need to listen to him. Like it looks like if anything were to inspire me, it would be this gentleman.
Yeah, I guess I was just like searching through the channels, and I guess his face just stood out to me. I'm like, what's this guy about? So, I mean, first on, I have immense respect for Zach Bagans and Aaron Goodwin. That like I would love to just talk to them. What they've been through, I don't know how many seasons it's been through now. Over 10, I'm assuming.
18, 18 or
8?
19. Yeah. Like it's like
And I'm not
egregious
sure.
the number.
I don't know how many episodes are in a season, but that's over a decade. So I watched them like we watched them like religiously. It
Mm,
was on, I don't know, Thursdays or Saturday, whatever it was.
mhm.
And I first started out because I want to believe it, and I believe like 100% of it because I felt like Ghost Hunters. I'm like, I feel like some of it's BS, so that's why I gravitated away from it. And when I initially started watching Ghost Adventures, I thought they were more believable.
Mm,
And I will say, the one piece of evidence that was like, what's going on here? If you remember, it was like one of the first episodes. They
mhm,
were in like a bar or something.
mhm.
And on the top level, it was just an apparition walking across the room.
Yes. That was
Yeah,
the first episode, which I do have on DVD. That was the first episode that like launched them into like mainstream status, because that would, you talk about Ghost Hunters for me, it really got to the point where it felt like camera guys were just tossing pebbles behind like the scenes, and it was just like, what was that, did you hear that, it like, and that was the entire show. And when Ghost Adventures came around, you actually saw something. Like they went in depth of like the history of the location and stuff like that. They like interviewed. It felt, what I liked about it. It felt so raw, and it felt like three friends just traveling the world. And I'm like, this is just something so cool. And it's like so. It had like just a genuine vibe to it, and like they're just interviewing people, and it just, this felt like, it felt real because it pretty much was. They're walking around with like mics, like they bought all some equipment off of like Facebook Marketplace, and they just went, and they're talking to people. And when you the first piece of evidence that they captured was, oh look, an actual ghost. And it's just like, Ghost Hunters who, and Zach with his amazing, let's dilute it down to personality, was just so enticing and so entertaining, and you got what you wanted out of episode one out the gate. And Ghost Hunters was just flying pebbles tossed by camera guys, and like every kid, there was only three of them, and it was just like no Hollywood like setup and stuff. Like there was no like crew or anything, so it just felt so raw and so just really genuine. That's what I liked about the show.
I definitely agree. Yeah, it was just three dudes. And that's why I think it was more believable. It wasn't like a Hollywood production. They were just going in and seeing what they could find. And yeah, that because they just had, I feel like, more evidence backing it.
Mhm.
And that we just watched it for years. So then, because we wanted to be Zach and Aaron, we
Mhm.
started doing our own ghost hunting. So then we were in high school, and we at the time we lived in New York.
Mhm.
So we like looked up where in New York, like haunted places in New York, and we just went there. And I know there was like some haunted, maybe not haunted, but there was like a girl that died in a well and was said to be haunted. Do you remember that?
I remember multiple stories. I researched this years and years and years ago, but like there was like yeah, something like a girl died in a well, or I remember, um, I don't know if this is like wildly known, or I think it's like pretty well known along New York anyway, Sweet Hollow Road. That was just a haunted road where apparently so many things happened. Uh, like people were seeing, um, like, of course, there's always some ghostly child or some kind of grudge-looking girl just moping around, just like looking for employment or something, like looking for some side gigs or like some side hustle or whatever. And like there was like a bridge and like a very narrow road, no lights, just lost in the woods. And people claim to like see things. Whoa, I just had like a moment just now of like what I remember seeing. Of there was like this, it sounds ridiculous, but I like vividly remember this of a ghost truck, of just an 18-wheeler truck, which I don't even know how this truck got on this road, but here we are. Like we're just driving and you see the headlights of a truck behind you, and there's no turns down this road. And like you would be like looking at it in the rear view, and it's like, how you're like questioning, like, how did he even like get here? Like the trees are so low and the road is like so, like the road feels like it's being like asphyxiated by the trees that are just enclosing down on the road. And it's just like, how is this even possible? And then like as soon as you look away, the truck is just gone. And it's just like it was such a moment. And I even talked to one of my buddies. He had the exact same experience, and I'm like, did you happen to see like a, as stupid as this sounds, a ghost truck? Not like a Walmart 18-wheeler like truck. He's like, yeah. And it was like such a like a whoa, like so people are seeing different things but like similar things. That was like, huh, that's what like that personal attachment to the paranormal was just erupted within me. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a weird. That's why so many people are interested, because I feel a lot have those personal stories
Mm.
where something weird happened. There was no reason or cause. It just like happened. You're like, what was that? And the only like logical explanation would be like maybe paranormal.
Mm.
And that's why a lot of people, they want to dive deeper into it because they want to find the answer. And
Absolutely.
that would help maybe like validate what they experienced. So
Mm.
that's why we got into ghost hunting. So we went to the well, and I remember, we tried to take pictures. We did like EVP sessions and stuff.
Mhm.
And I mean, it wasn't anything like hard evidence, like we got her. But there were, we were probably using like a, maybe not a flip phone, but maybe it was a flip. No,
No,
maybe.
we use like a normal Radio Shack camera.
I guess it was a
That's
normal
how long
camera.
ago this was.
But
Like we used
I
an
will
MP3
there.
player, MP3. Like we had some equipment. We had some
Yeah,
like episode 1 Ghost Adventures stuff.
but it was one. It was just fun to like play around with like your friends and see what you could find. But there were some photos that were just weird. Like one photo I remember was, because it was kind of like on the road, so we're like just walking and taking pictures as much as we can. And the photo, you know how like in old photo movies, if it like skipped or whatever, it had like lines in the photo
Yeah.
or the movie. There was like this one thin line across it. And with kind of modern cameras, it normally doesn't look like that. So I'm like, okay, that's kind of weird. There were other photos that had maybe what we at least thought were a kind of mist in the background. And then
Mm.
we were probably scaring ourselves by thinking the mist formed a face,
Mhm.
because we're humans. And I feel like we try to find humanistic characteristics in a lot of things.
Mhm.
So we're like, that's a face. So there was that. We might have heard like weird stuff in the EVPs. It might have been a bird for all we know, but that was one of our main ones. But then we got into the asylums.
Mm.
We went into
That was like
Kings
my
Park.
second home. I
That
was there
was
so many
creepy.
times.
That, because that was originally a psychiatric ward, right?
Yes,
Facility.
the whole town is known for the psych ward. I believe it's building, if I remember, building 93, if I'm remembering that correctly, is the main building. There used to be, I did a report for this with college, and there was like over 100 buildings, and they demolished like a good, I want to say over 75% of them, and some buildings still stand up for like safety reasons, but like some parts of the asylum, if you want to call it that. They don't like that word, but like a penitentiary. Well, not. I got to find a word that doesn't offend patients of the psychiatric medium. But yeah, there are still some like wards open and like operational. Like there was that one time where you showed up and they were like patients just wandering around. It sounds like the opening to Halloween, but like they're just like wandering out like at like 3 o'clock in the morning, just in the dark and it's raining. It's like, yeah, this is this is safe. Like someone's in charge here. But yeah, it was it was its own like self-sustaining like society almost. And just going back there now, it closed down in 96. And due to overpopulation, like every other psych ward, because there's too many crazy people out there. And what they do because of overpopulation, they just gave you a name label on your wrist, gave you your pill bottles, literally kicked you out the door, and they closed the next day. And that's why there are so many crazies wandering the streets. We just got, instead of stray cats, we just got loons just walking around. That's why McDonald's and Walmarts are the way they are.
But yeah, I remember it was strange. It was like almost Shutter Island-ish, where it was like its own sustainable community. That it was completely overgrown. There's always some back way into the place, which was you
Oh,
shouldn't
we got in.
do, but whatever.
We got in.
Um, and the paint's peeling off, and it's straight. It's just cool.
Mm.
So we went in there. We might have tried EVP sessions around there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we found anything though.
People
But
say with different buildings that there's like this building is more haunted than the other building. So you go over there and that there's like another building. Yeah, even like, oh, this is supposed to be the most haunted building. People say they hear stuff, see stuff, and then you, of course, you get there, everyone's just off for the winter when you're conducting an EVP session, of course. So yeah, it's tricky with that kind of stuff.
yeah, I mean, even being in there and just it's dilapidated and just collapsing. So there's always water dripping
Mm.
somewhere, and you think that's, something making noise, but then you realize it has a consistent rhythm, and you're like, that's more natural than, But once we went in this place, we were just walking around, and the sun started going down. I'm like, we should probably start leaving. And we couldn't find the freaking door.
That was some
And then the
nightmarish shit.
sun actually set, so we're literally using our phone lights just to get out of this place. I'm like, my mind straight away went to we're spending the night.
Oh yeah, I was fully prepared. I'm like, we are about to embrace tonight because we got to stay warm. I was full on ready to just cuddle in a corner because I'm like, we're gonna beat this. Because I swear to you, the entrance just moved, and I'm just like, I swear the door was right there, and we found it by mistake, and it was just so blatantly open. Like, I'm over here, you idiots! Like, leave! Like, what are you doing? We circled the first floor for like an hour. I'm like, this is not this is not good. This is this that's what this is.
No, it was pretty terrifying, and yeah, it was just strange. But luckily, we got out, so we didn't have to spend the night there. Um, but yeah, I mean, there might have been some other places. Those were like the main ones that we personally tried to. There was also like Lady of the Lake somewhere, so we
Right,
went over there.
Lake Ronkonkoma.
Yeah,
That was
and
a native that drowned in the lake, I think.
yeah, and then supposedly the girl didn't like men or something. So
I,
there we were, like three or four dudes, like, hey, push us in. um, that was fun, but we didn't find anything there. But I don't think that that was main experiences that. Oh, actually, I was talking to my wife before this. I'm like, hey, because I feel like everyone has like an experience. I'm like, hey, what do you got?
oh yeah.
So
What have you seen?
she went to college, and apparently the main building was supposedly haunted. I'm like, okay, this is getting interesting. So she was dragged there by some of her friends, and she told me they brought a Ouija board. I'm like, that's pretty messed up. But
Cool.
if you're
Cool.
looking for something, that could certainly trigger something. Um, but I think she tried to block most of it out. But supposedly, she felt something brush her leg, and then she just left. She ran out of the building. So I feel like that could be explainable. A friend might have brushed her leg or something. But it's, one of those things like, I don't want to deal with it. But other than that, I don't know if I have any other personal experiences. Oh, we tried some graveyards too, actually.
Oh yeah, we
That
not to sound like complete criminals, but we broke into graveyards and just kind of conducted EVP sessions, took photos and stuff. We wanted to be Ghost Adventures, okay? We were trying to be like Ghost Adventures 2, but better. I think
it wasn't
with
we
the only paranormal experience that I had, it was such a weird thing. It was one of those like unexplainable things that just happened and you're like not paying attention, but you just caught it. And it was like such a moment. You're just like, what was that? I was at our old house back in New York. I was upstairs on a two-story house. I was on the computer and I heard we had upstairs, so it was like 12 steps upstairs, um, carpeted stairs, and we lived there for 26 years. So like I know the sounds of who is coming up the stairs. I'm just like, that's mom, that's dad, that's Nick. Like there's just different ways how everyone goes down the stairs. And just someone is coming up the stairs and I was like listening to music, but it was like low. So I'm hearing steps coming up the stairs. And I'm like, okay. And I really didn't pay attention to the pattern at the time. So it was just kind of like, you're not paying attention to it. And there was 12 steps and the steps, they just keep going and going. And then they get to the point where you would start seeing someone over the railing once you get past that like 10th step, and the steps kept going as if there were like more steps. It was, and this is what got my attention. I'm just like, that's like 16 steps of like, wait a minute. I'm like, what's that? And the steps are getting like louder, as the, not like someone storming up the steps, but like it's getting closer. So I'm like, what? I'm like, why am I not seeing someone at this point? So, and then they just stop eventually. I'm like, what was that? So I like take my headphones off. I look down the stairs and there's no one there. And I look over the railing into the kitchen and no one's in the kitchen. So I'm like, what just happened? So I go downstairs and then down into the basement where my parents were and our parents, hello. And I just asked them, I'm just like, were you, it was anybody upstairs like not even 2 minutes ago? And they've been talking downstairs for like over 20 minutes. Just like, no, we haven't been upstairs in like a hot minute. I was just like, huh. Just like, what happened? I'm like, I don't know. So that was like the one and only unexplainable thing that happened to me. I don't know if you saw anything, but that was noticeable.
That's interesting. In our house, I feel like we didn't. I don't. Humans are just so unreliable. Like our eyes and our memory, we're like we could just believe we see something and it's simply not there. So that's why I think it's important, and that's probably why equipment. You could see that you saw something all day and it doesn't matter, but when you like actually capture something, that might mean a little bit more, you know. Um, but yeah, me personally, I don't think we tried at our friend's house a couple times, but no like hard evidence. But that's the thing with these shows, right?
Mhm.
I've as I've became wiser, I feel there, and I think this is a lot of things in the world, is that there are so many different shades of gray. It's not like, oh, it's 100% real or 100% fake. I think the show, unfortunately, I think majority of it might not be true because, it is a show. It's still on TV. They want to provide entertainment value. But at the same time, there could be aspects that are true. And I feel like that's how paranormal might have started. Like it probably started, like the foundation has some truth to it. And then we just completely veered off the track and people are just making stuff up. But there's like that 1% chance, like, what's going on there? Same thing with like mediums, like people that either see ghosts or, could see different dimensions or whatever. Most are probably trash. But there's that small percentage, like, how did they know that? And I think people have to think of it that way. It's not like one way or the other, but there's a spectrum. But we could get into mediums if you want to.
Mediums, like the Long Island medium, with where the Karen hairstyle was originated, born, and raised. Mediums, I don't know where I stand with them. Like I've never been to like a medium session, I guess you could
You
say.
did. We went to Salem, and I don't know if she was considered a medium
I
or
don't know
like
if
a
they said,
reading. That might
yeah,
have been a
like
reading.
yeah, it was like it wasn't like a palm or like a, well, tarot cards were used, and like it wasn't the main focus, but like they were used. Yeah, we went to Salem, Massachusetts for my birthday one year, and I got a reading from some rogue witch on the side of the road. No, I'm kidding. Like in like a gift shop, and just for the hell of it, I'm just like, we're here. Why not? And it was like a 20-minute, 30-minute session. So I'm like, well, let's give it a shot. And I, looking back at it, because I have it all recorded on my phone, like I did that, and I listen to it every so often, like once a year, and I tell you, looking back at it, oh my god, is it vague? Like it is just abysmally just open, and like this can be said about anything and anyone in anybody's situation, like regardless of gender status, like anything. And I'm just like, wow, I don't feel special at all. and, and yeah, the reading was just like, she was like shuffling, well, I like shuffled tarot cards, and she's just like, oh, get your energy into the cards, and I'm like, okay, weird. But like she like put the cards on the table, and she like pointed to like different ones, and like she tarot cards, they're so like, you could tell me a card means something when it means completely something else, or you could tell me what it really means, and like it could have so many meanings, and you could just say that relates to you, and to like, oh, you're not gonna she's like, you're gonna focus on money first before you get like serious in a relationship or something. And I'm just like, okay, like that kind of stuff. Mediums, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't had like a legit or like a real like personal stuff. It's like if a medium told me something about myself that only I knew, then it would be like a okay, I'm listening. But until that, when they don't charge, I don't know, $500,000 a session, maybe I'll consider it.
Yeah, that's a good point. Uh, what they do, and again, I do wish there might be like 1% where it's like, hold up, well, how do you know that? But what they do is they paint a broad picture, and what most humans do is they manipulate those words to fit themselves because they want to believe in what they're saying. So I feel like a lot of that happens. That's almost like astrology, or like the zodiac symbols, or those tarot cards. You're like, oh my god, I'm a Sagittarius or whatever. It's like you you take those words and you pick out the traits in your person to match that. And I feel like that's why they do more well than they should.
I think when going back to like paranormal experiences of how it's personal and stuff like that, I think like me in my educated state of just kind of getting out of that, like because we watched these shows and we believe when we were like teenagers, very easily manipulated, and looking back at it now, it's just like yeah, we were off our freaking rocker, and like all the stuff that we were believing, like really, are you kidding me? Like they're going back to Ghost Adventures, they're using like an Xbox 360 Connect to try to find little stick figures resting on Aaron's shoulder. And I'm sorry, but the 360 Connect doesn't even work with real people in a well lit room. Like this doesn't tell me anything. This doesn't show me. Getting off topic, but I think with paranormal experiences, I think it boils down to I think life is just funny sometimes, and I think what the human mind is like programmed to do is we don't like the idea of not knowing something. So we have to basically put not necessarily a label on it, but we need an explanation on what we just saw so that we can comprehend it. Like if we can't bring like an explanation to something, that's when we start to get scared. And that's where we start to like get that fear in us where it's like I don't understand, and like humans just naturally want to understand things, have things explained, and when you come across something that's just kind of like huh, that's funny, I think just like labeling something, it makes us feel better. And that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
I completely agree with that. Humans, they don't like the unknown. It's terrifying. That's why people don't like death, because it's unknown. You'll never know it. Um, but that's why a lot of people are intrigued in all these mysterious things, because they want to know. They want an answer, and that's what sucks. Because I feel like we're gonna die without knowing the answers to some things. That's the worst. But
Well, is
what's
it our
your?
place to know it in the first place?
That's a good point. We don't know. We're
We're not
very
deserving of the truth.
egotistical. That like we. I mean, look at where we came from. We thought the Earth was the center of the universe. That's pretty egotistical to think that. And it's like, oh, we're just a rock out there.
Yeah, because the guy that came
But
up, the guy that devised that theory, and saying like, oh, Earth is not the center, the sun is. They freaking castrated him out of town and like crucified him or something. But tangent, I'm sorry.
yeah, humans are just fantastic. But those are some of the personal experiences. But the big question would be, do you actually believe in the paranormal?
Absolutely not. it
Really?
it's it goes back to kind of the whole idea of it. It's life is just funny sometimes, and if you're looking for the negativity in people, that's all you will see. If you're looking for ghosts, that's what you will see. If you come across something that's unexplainable, you'll just, oh, it must be paranormal, it must be ghosts, it must be aliens, it must be Bigfoot. Like for example, like in a college course, the professor showed us a picture of a rock on Mars or the moon or something like that, and it looked like a face, completely like a face, nose, eyes, just completely humanistic features, and they're just like, this is a sign of aliens trying to communicate with us. I'm like, this is a weird way to do that, but all right. And they're like, what do you see? Like he pulls up the pictures, like, what do you see in this photo? And everyone in the class is like a face and stuff like that. They're like, well, guess what? This photo was taken now and like an hour from then, and it was just a rock and the shadows moved. And I'm just like, the human mind wants to see what it wants to see. So with that, it's UFOs, ghosts, aliens, and it's just like a label. It's an scapegoat. It's just something that it's just we have to put it on something so we can understand it. But paranormal, I can't get behind it. It seems too far fetched.
What would you kind of just describing the meaning of paranormal? What do you think that is? Do you think it's like just ghosts? Do you think it's like souls?
Mm.
Um, do you think we could also get into even being possessed? That could be almost paranormal like.
Yeah, ghost shows they tend to gravitate to really like capture their audience because they really want to kind of grab their attention. They really try to push the demonology and the religious side of things and spirits and that kind of stuff, and that's especially demonology. That's something that people uh, fear because they don't understand it, and that's like the paranormal. So just like fixating on that, that's something that's scary, and it's yeah, it comes from a very like evil place and that kind of stuff. Like when it comes to media of what we've seen with paranormal, it's like you look at say possessions, like you said, with say The Exorcist, or like movies like Emily Rose and stuff like that. It's that stuff fascinates me when it comes to demonology because it's something that's so beyond us and it's so beyond our reasoning when speaking like backwards in Latin, or like when someone is possessed. It's weird. Like it's so tricky, but I think it's heavily manipulated for like entertainment purposes with movies and shows and stuff.
I do agree. Yeah, there's some possessions where it's definitely over exaggerated, I feel. And that's what stinks because I've me personally, I feel like there's a small percentage where like there might be something there. At the same time, like there's not great evidence of it, but that's why I'm still curious about it. Of it could be,
Mhm.
but I'm also thinking of it might not only be past souls or ghosts or something, but could it be bleeding dimensions bleeding into our dimension too? You
Mhm.
could think of it, maybe that could be happening.
I
I
think
know we
yeah.
talked about a couple times of. I mean, we talked about dreams before,
Mhm.
but maybe like it's another dimension dreaming, and the paranormal is coming into our dimension.
Mhm. Yeah, like dimensions are kind of like, yeah, like a good term you use would be bleeding into each other. I think the fabric of dimensions is very thin, and it's like kind of like just a very like a weightless sheet, if you will, like an invisible boundary line. that sometimes it'll like touch whatever, and it's like very faint, and it's like I think that's where um, unexplained things can happen because we merge with, say, a reality or dimension that's, I want to say, like mirroring ours, but that's like just on the, like it's like stuck in like a stained glass or something like that. It's just like it's weird. It's like right in between the lines of reason and comprehension.
Hmm. It does get very interesting. It gets more into scientific, um, with the multi dimensions. You could also look at it from an energy perspective, because if you do believe in like orbs or souls or ghosts, it could be either like a ball of energy, or energy is transferring one way to another. But
Yeah, the
I
whole
was
like
think,
draining
yeah.
energy from Duracell batteries. Like, I just charged these, bro. Like, like, man, I bought brand new batteries that didn't work right out of the pack. You know, and like, I don't know. It's again, it's just one of those things. Like, it's just, I don't know. But as far as like an energy thing, I think no, 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 no. It's getting sentimental and personal on my end. When it comes to souls, like you said, I think, in my like personal belief, I think our bodies are just vehicles that we just use to exist in this dimension. And I think as soon as we as soon as we pass away, our soul like leaves our body. If you want to depict the soul as like a glowing orb or what have you, good on you. Like that's cool, whatever. Like whatever you need to tell yourself. But I think like the why like when someone passes away, they don't look like the person that we knew anymore, is because the person that was using this body to exist in this dimension, that is the person you knew. Like that is the person you have grown attached to, that you've become so familiar with. And now that personality, that soul, that real you has left this vehicle. And now the decaying corpse looks like a stranger to you now. Not mainly because of like the decomposition of human tissue, or I was going to say prosthetics, cosmetics in funeral homes. I think that has something to do with it. There is a spiritual aura about how I think, but when it comes to like souls, I think that's kind of where I stand. It's very unique, I guess. But that's what I kind of pieced together over the years.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of people could easily push paranormal into religion, because then it gets into like the afterlife and soul and everything like that. It is interesting how, like you were saying, the soul kind of moves on, that because scientifically that's what energy does.
Hmm.
Energy
It's
isn't
transferred.
lost or destroyed, it's transferred. And that could be maybe aspects of the paranormal, or what people believe with the soul. It's super interesting because there's also energy aspects in like rocks. So for example, like quartz, there's a certain
Hmm.
electromagnetic field of that mineral or material, rock, whatever it may be, but it does have an energy to it. So it could be interesting, like, what if it holds a certain amount of energy and then maybe either constantly releases it or releases it at a later date? So maybe that could be considered paranormal as well. But just the how energy just doesn't just disappear, like what happens? And I feel like that aspect of, I don't know if the human mind could wrap wrap around that concept, because we have a life of there's a beginning and an end, and that concept of eternity, just we don't get it.
Hmm. Very interesting premise. Yes, when transferring of energy into, say, like we're in the third dimension, like personally I would say the energy, like our soul, is transferred into the fourth dimension, which in my mind is our dreams, and when we go to sleep we just see fragments into paradise, I guess you could say. And like we have our own personal heavens, if you will. As far like transferring energies, it's something so beyond our reasoning and our comprehension, and it goes back to trying to understand it. And it's like we're not meant, it's not part of us. Like humanity is such a minuscule part of the universe, and it's like we're not meant to understand it. We're trying to understand it, and it's just maybe we're not just meant to. And I think people just don't like that answer.
That's the thing, because there is no answer, and people don't like that. Like there has to be, like even in school, like there has to be an answer, but life isn't like that. But going back to more paranormal stuff, like what do you think of like exorcisms? Is that just straight up not real, or could there be like, I don't know how many exorcisms there were. Let's say there's, I don't know, 10,000. Do you think like
Apparently,
there was one real one and all the rest is garbage?
um, I think apparently, I don't know how truthful this is because don't believe anything you hear. Apparently, there's like over 100 exorcisms in Italy every freaking day, or something like that. Like it's something egregious, and I'm just like, so are popes just at high demand in Italy? I don't know. We're not in Italy, but as far as like like there's just applications, full time, part time, and per diem on call exorcists, help, urgent hire in Italy. But it's like I've watched pretty much every single exorcism movie because I am just that that off my rocker. But I've watched like every movie, every documentary, and even real exorcisms. And again, it's completely exaggerated. Like ghosts, what was that? And it's like
Mhm.
it's blown out of proportion. I don't see it. Like I really just think it's like, man, you come across these people. If you go, listen, this new world is basically the clearance section of a Walmart. Have you seen people in Walmart? If you have, okay, put it to you this way: if you have gone to Target for your entire life, and if you went to Walmart once, you would think every single person is either crazy, possessed, or like off their meds. Like he escaped from a psych ward type, like even the staff and everything. So as far as like going back to exorcisms and possessions, I'm talking about Walmart over here. It's
Majority of them might happen in Walmart.
there's exorcisms actively happening down each aisle, just stuff combusting into flames. Like there are some weird, crazy people out there, and it's blown out of proportion. And of course, they attach religion onto it because that's a scary topic that's blasphemous to talk about, and so they latch it onto that to make it more believable and more beyond our reasoning. So now it comes off more genuine and more realistic. So yeah, it's blown out of proportion.
That's a good point. They could latch religion onto a lot of things when, I mean, it could be straight up similar to like mental illnesses or
Mm,
schizophrenia or something like that. Like people are messed up. Our brains are just not always there.
mm,
So if people are just outside the norm, then they're like possession.
mm.
And it could just be like that's how their brain works. So unfortunately, I think I'm in the same camp. I, it There's certainly a lot of them blown way out of proportion. Like you could even like see in movies that they're like depicting an exorcist or an exorcism, and like it throws a person against the wall, and like that probably didn't have. He might have been like he might have felt a possible push, but not thrown across the room.
Maybe felt a little nudge.
Yeah, like or like the crucifix like flew across the room. It's like there might have been a slight breeze and it knocked it over.
The window was open. uh, with like, there's so many things to take into effect, and like, I don't want to speak badly on any kind of like conditions or illnesses or anything like that, but like, like just naming some examples like multiple personality disorder or just any kind of like mental illness, or like someone's off their meds, and like there's just different explanations. Like, there's people online out there in the world that have like that claim to have like 18 different people living inside of them, and it's like, that's crazy to me. Like, like, I'm most definitely bipolar and have OCD and of whatever decoding issues means, but it's it's just something. There's like, you see those videos online, people like, you have like a priest that's kind of like like just flicking like holy water on people, and people are like losing their minds. Like, he's just like speaking random Bible phrases, and people are like having seizures. Like, like people, some people, like, if I laugh really hard at a joke, other people will laugh and like roll around on the floor and just like start knocking things off the tables and just start completely exaggerating their like excitement or something. So it's like, you don't know how people are gonna behave or what they're just doing, just cuz do they know it's being recorded? I don't know. It's so up in the air.
That's a good point. Going back to why humans suck, because you could look at it as a placebo effect, um, where you believe it's having effect on you, so you I don't want to say make believe, but you exhibit behaviors that would match being possessed. So it's like it becomes true type of thing. Um, but yeah, I wanted to bring up that there was like a prison experiment where I mean, it might not directly relate to paranormal, but how humans behave is a prison experiment. These were all participants. They willingly signed up, and some were prisoners and some were guards. And after a while, they really thought this was a prison. They were actually prisoners, and the guards actually thought they were guards. And this was just an experiment, and that's how people's minds could get manipulated. And we first have to understand that we don't understand.
And
Like
that
we
it's
have to be
okay.
smart enough to realize that we're not smart.
There was a similar, well, not really a similar, but another experiment. I think it was conducted either in a school, college, university, what have you, but it was a a Salem witch trial experiment. And basically, the professor got up in front of the class, in front of like maybe 35, 40 kids, and he's just like, okay, we've gotten to the point that we're going to be covering the Salem witch trials, so we're going to conduct a little experiment to kind of put your guys in the mindset of what it was like back then, and to kind of set the mood and everything. So basically, he told the kids, he's like, okay, I'm going to go up to each and every single one of you, and I'm going to whisper in your ear if you are a witch or you are not a witch. And then when I like whisper whatever and get to everybody, then you have to find the one witch amongst you. So he went up to every kid, whispered witch, not a witch, in every kid's ear. And then they went at it, like, he just, okay, go. And it was just a free for all. And they ended up claiming that some people were witches and some people weren't. He said there was, okay, find the witch. And they ended up having more than one witch and like some people that weren't a witch. And at the end, he reveals to the kids every single kid that he whispered said, not a witch. And that was the entire experiment. It's like, and that was pretty much the Salem witch trials. It's like you will believe anything just because you think there's a witch. Like there was some that crazy like witch test that they like lower you into a river, and if you float, you're a witch, and if you sink, you're human or something. I'm like, doesn't everybody float? So that's why people are just dying just left and right. I'm just like, what is this? And it's that kind of stuff. It's so interesting to me because it's people they like want to see what they want to see, and it goes back to like the Stanford prison experiment. They'll like fall into that character because people are so easily just manipulated to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what's super interesting. The fact that we just believe in something that's not even there. I wanted to bring up a point. I got lost.
Yeah, the Salem witch trial was very interesting. I'm more fascinated about the whole demonology side of things. I was kind of feeling the negative echo.
No, it's okay. Yeah, the fact that the Salem witch trials, you look back to that and you're like, people are crazy.
Hmm.
But because I feel like we look back at history like they were completely different. But I feel like they were the exact same as we are today.
Mm.
So like when people are like, oh, they're obviously there are no witches. But if that had a similar situation today, we would probably fall for the same exact thing in the same way.
Oh, without a doubt.
And
Like
I don't want to say it's like brainwashing, but just people believe things that aren't there.
like if we have a power outage or if we go a certain amount of time without our phone or if there's a gas shortage, we just fall back to our barbaric instinct and there's like chaos among the streets. And it all falls back to like just we will believe what we want to believe. And in times of crisis or at times of fear, we'll try to just make sense of chaos. And it's all crazy. And people are crazy. And we should open back up psych wards because there's too many of them.
All right, so playing devil's advocate, right? So let's say there's a person out there, they have a paranormal experience. They completely believe it. They're like, no, they're like, and they're a logical human being. They're like, no, the window was shut. There wasn't a gust. Or they legitimately saw something. What would you say to them? If let's say, because you mentioned that you don't necessarily believe in the paranormal,
Mhm.
what if they have some type of evidence that somewhat proves it? What how would you take it?
It would have to be some pretty substantial evidence for me to completely overturn like all the beliefs that I've concocted over the years. If it's like if it's a ghost coming up to the camera and freaking literally waving at you and I don't know, or just like something flying. There was like that episode of Ghost Adventures. They like literally walked to a room, a brick flew across the room, and the bed was literally levitating. Like that. If I was in that position, if I could live out my top second fantasy of all time of embodying Zach Bagans, if I was in that moment, that would be like a oh my god moment. Like I don't know if I would run away because I would be like so like capture this that's just me. You don't know how you're going to react, but like seeing something like that must blow your mind. I, I don't know. It's do you think that's part of their like their formula of like run away, shake the screen so they don't see the strings. I don't know, but I just want
I
to
don't
like
know.
I would try to sorry, but it like if I could sleep in the Amityville house or go to Ed and Lorraine Warren's house and just hold the real Annabelle doll in my hands. I just want to see because I am hoping I am praying that I am wrong about all of this. I just want to see what happens. Like I want to take the Annabelle doll and just rent the Amityville house for a freaking weekend, like a hotel stay, and just sleep in the bed and just to see what happens. Because it's about time we're all grown ass adults here. I need something. I can't just go off of knocks and sounds that we hear to dictate my entire belief and mindset. I need tangible evidence. I need even if it's not captured on film. I just need something to be like, all right, like we're good. Just something. I need something.
Yeah, it's almost the same thing with aliens. That like you need some pretty good evidence for me to take you seriously. But going back to like how we would react, I again, you don't really know how, but if you find well, first of all, let's get into the mindset of being in a dark room at 2 o'clock in the morning. Anything's gonna scare you.
Oh yeah.
So I really feel like most people would run. Like I would still run out of like the house we lived in for 25 years. I would still run out of the basement because it's terrifying. But I think that would be most of our reactions. They might use it in the show though, just so like you don't dwell too long on it.
Mm.
So, but yeah, the type of evidence. But that's why of having that personal experience because I didn't have anything intense or serious like that.
Mhm.
If you see like a levitating brick that whizzes past your head, I might think a little bit differently.
Oh, that's peculiar. Or you
That's
just want that's the day I started believing, maybe my wife has murderous intent. I don't know. You try to piece things together to make sense of it, but like if you're staring at something, like you see those videos on YouTube of just like drawers that just shoot open, or you just see a blatant apparition just standing there, and there's always some crawling thing.
oh
Like,
god.
I, yo, real quick, crawlers, you could have that.
Yeah, no.
That's the one thing I would be like, nope. It just just I'm talking high knees sprints out of like I'm jumping down staircases. I don't care about my twisted ankle. I am hauling out of my own house and just going, I don't know, across the street to my neighbors and be like, you ain't going to believe what's at 3 o'clock in the
Yeah, the evidence would have to be pretty big. But I it because you have to be it you know damn well it's going to happen for a fraction of a second. So even if you have all this equipment, you're probably not even going to like capture it. So that's why you almost have to physically be there. You have to embody the environment and just have some type of experience. But until then, I'm not too sure. The evidence is just not out there.
Yeah, I think like getting into the vibe that would really because me it's a little fun tidbit about myself. I like to torture myself by looking at scary things at like 12 o'clock at night with all the lights off and just scaring myself, and then I'm like, all right, it's time to go to bed. For some reason I just do that all the time. I do not know why. I don't like doing it. I just do it because I don't know. It's how I find inspiration. I don't know, but it just yeah the getting into like if you were in a supposedly haunted house and just in that vibe 3 o'clock in the morning, that yeah it would definitely like it would make you jump, at stuff. Like who wouldn't? Like I don't care who you are, how tough you think you are, just like being just completely immersed. Yeah, like anything's gonna pop out at you. As far as like Ouija board stuff and that kind of route, I don't. I'm not on. I'm not on board with that either. But again, it's too. It seems too fantasy like movie like. I guess I don't know.
I mean, that's true. Like, majority of our life is pretty explainable. So, like, so when something is as much unexplained as this, that's why a lot of people like, I don't know, life is pretty straightforward. There are physics, there's cause and effects.
Mm. It's just like, oh, I left the stove on. That's why I didn't wake up the next morning. Like there's reasons, like there's explanations and everything. And investing into the paranormal stuff, it's something it's open for interpretation, and it's
Yeah. I would, so, all
it's
right,
unexplainable.
let's say one day we have an interview with Zach Bagans and Aaron Goodwin.
I wouldn't be able to contain myself.
What kind of questions would you ask him?
um, I respect the hustle. Aaron, I look I look to you as a superhero, and I want to grow up to be you one day, because he's just that much of an inspiration. This guy, 5 second, not a 5 second tangent at all. Real quick about Aaron Goodwin. I love this man because he is souped up like he's a part of SEAL Team 6. He's got like I'm talking. He's got a vest, pouches, like a Molly system. Get up. This guy must have. This guy has to have minimum 20 pounds of AA batteries on him at all times. Like this guy just he is more like invested than Zach is. He's just like the only thing Aaron's missing is just straight up an AR-15. Like if you put this guy next to like SEAL Team 6, I wouldn't be able to pick him out from the rest of the group. Like he is just ready, and I love that. Like he's just like, we're gonna find some ghosts. Oh, we're gonna find some ghosts, and I'm just like, he's such a like a motivating, like his whole being is just motivating. It's like, we're gonna go get some ghosts, and I'm like, you know what? I think we're gonna go get some ghosts. Like I feel good about this one.
If I
Like,
was to trust anyone to find some ghosts, it's gonna be that guy.
like here, just like you have like a perfect partner to go fight ghosts with. I'll be like like a dodgeball team. Be like, Aaron, he's on my team. Just like first out of the gate. Oh my! I love Aaron Goodwin. He is just a man of culture, just a primal being.
He lost a lot of weight too. I have a lot of respect for him.
Yeah,
It's
he's
just,
motivational in like every part of his being, which is just awesome.
he really is. I'd be curious because they probably been to, the most haunted places ever. So if they're gonna know something, it would. If anyone's gonna know something, it would be them. I would want to know, like, what are your top three or like five, whatever things that happened to you that you're like, there was no explanation whatsoever. Like, filter out all the knocks, all the like the
Yeah,
pebble flicks.
I'm talking like the hardcore. Like you were legitimately scared. Like, whoa, turn the cameras off for a second. Not even joking anymore. What was that?
Yeah, like I want to know that information.
There was two scenes with Aaron that just kind of like stuck with me. It was like they were in this like, one of them was like really early in the seasons, like probably like pre season 5 or something. And he described, um they were like at a castle or something. They were like in the this is not the term, catacombs, like area, like underneath the castle, and he like went to go get a piece of equipment or something, and he like left Zach and Nick in like a room, whatever, and he described like he just screamed out of nowhere, like a grown ass man just screamed on camera, and it's just like what just happened, and he just described like, and this would be like so pitch black. This would be terrifying if this happened. He's like, I just literally heard footsteps like running at me, like like someone like just darted at you in the
Oh
pitch black.
God.
Like that would be like, okay, like that was like I was just picturing that happening. I'm just like, oh my god, I couldn't. I would lose it in that kind of moment. And another thing that really just a top Aaron Goodwin trademark moment was that he like set. It was like, oh, this was a really good episode. It was like the Mexican domes, like in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
The way he just described something on camera, he went alone in one of the domes. He just sat on the ground and just held like the recorder in his hand, and he was just asking questions. And out of nowhere, he just got up and walked back to the camper. And I'm just like, and everyone in the group was like, "What's he doing?" And he came back to base, and he was talking to Zach. He was just like, at the corner of my eye, I saw a figure, like a tall figure. I'm talking like 9, 10 feet. He's like, at the corner of my eye, I saw hooves just standing next to me. And I'm just like, okay.
No,
I'm
man.
just like, whoa, 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 whoa. And I'm like, now we're getting my level of like, this is the stuff I don't even mess with. That's like, you're talking like, and there's like an EVP of just like, you hear like growls and stuff. I don't know what to make of that.
That's what's even creepier. Like, they have some EVPs. Obviously, some might have like some voices, and you're like, all right, that could be recreated. But when things are like inhuman sounding,
Mm.
that's when it's like, hold up, how if it is fake, how do you even do that? And if it's real, oh my god.
Like, I think of this all the time. If you were to take like a modern day like death metal vocalist, and you go into like an abandoned asylum, like pitch black, and you just put this guy in like a room not too far from you, and it's like, I want you to make the most deep, most inhumane, most guttural, disturbing sound you could. And I listen to metal. There are sounds that these gentlemen can make that I'm like, that no, no, sir. No, sir. You can't. How do you even know you can do that? Like sounds like that were just like, I'm like, how is he even doing that? Like there's techniques and everything. There's like a safe way to like practice it. But like if that like that kind of scenario, if you were to hear something that's just like so deep and just like disgusting, just like if like that wasn't what the setup was and that just happened, we would be on the way to the pants store. I'm letting you know right now. Like Cole's clearance section, just be like, yeah, I heard a demon.
I heard a demon. Well, that's what I mean. First of all, that would be terrifying. At anything in pitch dark, I'm like looking around the room now because I'm freaked out. But you you don't even know. They could have even done that for some episodes because we could create some weird sounds that no one has ever heard. And they're like, "Hey, hire that guy. Here's $20. Go make a sound in the other room."
Real quick. If you could do like you're trying to hawk up some snot real quick, if you could just type of stuff, that would be great. But like that, you have like that end of the spectrum of like the paranormal stuff, and then you have. I feel like this trope is so like I'm just so done with it. Like the whole creepy children or like grudge girl type deal. I am so numb to this. It's just like we're done. Like that's like 2004. type stuff, like just like creepy children, just creepy children. And I'm like, I'm already terrified of children in like broad daylight. Like, but as far as like ghost hunting and like paranormal stories and like, oh, ghost children, I'm just like, come on. Like, oh, I saw a girl in a with black hair covering her face in a white dress, and she like pointed at me and said, "Red Rob," like just stuff. It's just like really, really, guy. Why is every ghost from the 18th century like? Why aren't we getting any dead millennials coming through? Hey, yo, what do millennials say these days? Freaking, let's go! Like, how come you're not getting those those EVPs?
Where's my avocado toast?
They just get EVP clear as day. Avocado toast.
That's way those millennials. That's a good. I mean, yeah. I feel like this only happens in America too, right? Like it's not like there's paranormal in Africa. There might be some in like Europe because they're a more developed nation or something. But I feel like if you took, well, that's The Conjuring 2. That was in UK, wasn't it?
That London, I believe.
London, something like that.
Yeah. That.
But if you take like the location of all paranormal activity, it will probably be majority America, some Europe, and that might
And
be
nowhere
it.
else. Like, there's no ghosts in Canada. There's no Canadian ghost. Help me cross over. A. With just an EVP. A. What? I was gonna say something. Mine's just going 1,000 miles an hour.
But yeah, would you want any like last regards regarding paranormal activity? I will say we didn't touch on light spectrum because in some
That's right.
photographs there's infrared and UV light.
Mm-hmm.
So we might not even we obviously we don't see everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why on like your phone camera you could see ultraviolet or infrared.
Right. That like jogged my memory right there with the what have yous. But whenever like the parents and I, they're watching some kind of paranormal stuff, whenever it gets to like demons, that turns off dad completely. When it gets to like Native American stuff, that's when mom tunes out too. Like when it's just like, this house was built on a Native American burial ground, and it's just like, wow, why you be doing that? Like whenever it gets to like the native stuff, all of a sudden the stakes just skyrocket out of nowhere, and I'm like, what about like native stuff just gives it that spike out of nowhere?
That's a good point. I think it's because, well, one, humans don't study history. So they just think like, oh, they don't know much about Native Americans. They did ritualistic stuff. I don't trust them. That's probably true. So it probably creeps them out. But I mean, I wonder what's like the earliest like case of paranormal activity. I would assume it's leaning more toward modern day. Like I feel like Middle Ages didn't have paranormal activity.
Like they used to do like seances back in the day. Like we're talking like maybe Jack the Ripper days of just like, hold your hands around a table and like some entity will just join the group. I don't know.
Well, that is true. You could relate paranormal activity to actually pretty old because you could link that to probably most religions. You could say they have paranormal aspects to them. whether they have their spirits, their gods, and stuff like that. It could easily bleed into that type of genre. So I'd say it's probably an old concept, honestly.
It's old and new. Like it evolved where I think it should be with today's technology. I think we should have proof, like without a shadow of a doubt. So we have advanced, but maybe not as much as I think we should. If we put more funding into the paranormal field instead of trying to go to the moon every other Wednesday, maybe we could finally catch something.
I mean, that's
Give Zach Bagans some real funding.
well, he also has like, doesn't he own like haunted mansions or something?
Oh yeah, he buys. Oh, that's he buys.
Oh, he has a museum that
He,
I
he's
actually really want to visit.
he's got a museum, and he goes out of his way to buy haunted houses, haunted artifacts, and like haunted everything. Which, if I had Zach Bagans money, that's probably what I would do. But but as far as like artifacts, it's just like I think he purchased Ed Gein's like pot,
Yeah.
and that he like boiled people's skin off or something. I'm just like, that's a good investment, Zach. That's good on you. I would probably buy the hell out of that too, but like there was like some things with like paranormal stuff that get like embedded into stuff like, or like dolls, but paintings as well. Like there are some paintings. I think there's a painting called the Crying Boy that apparently has been in generations in multiple houses, multiple families, whatever. And every house that this painting has been in, the house just burned down and the painting has been unscathed. And it's been traveling just generations, years and years and years. And this painting is just untouched, and it's just a painting, like a canvas of just a little boy crying, and that's it. Another painting, I don't know what it's called, but it's like the painting of like a guy, like a silhouetted figure from like the shoulders up, and he's just like hollowed eyes, hollowed out mouth, and it's painted with like the blood of the artist that like committed suicide after, so they think like his soul like embeds
Ooh.
this painting or something, and it's like a really twisted looking paint. I think Johnny Depp bought it.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Johnny's awesome too. Like just real, just stuff that's just like, what what are you first off, what are you buying into? Like, that's just, explain that to me.
That too.
Oh, there was another painting. What's it called? God, God produces, man destroys, or man destroys, God produces, something like that. It is a painting of like a land, like a frozen desert landscape of just polar bears on like a shipwreck, and this giant, I'm talking like landscape painting, is put in like one of the most luxurious universities in like London, maybe somewhere in Europe, I'm not sure, but they cover this painting with like a flag or something when the kids are taking exams, because if this painting is being shown, like it's revealed, every kid just fails. Like if you're a straight A student it's weird. Like it's just a given that like kids fail, or kids, they're like, they don't remember anything, they feel uncomfortable. It's so weird.
Huh. Interesting. I never heard of something like that. But yeah, there are the fact there's so many different artifacts that like have different stories behind them. That's an interesting concept. But I guess starting to wrap up a little bit, but I know you worked at some funeral homes. Have
Yeah.
you felt any weird stuff from that?
I tell you, every single person that asks me, like, do you feel like an energy? Do you feel like a presence and stuff like that? For those that don't know, for 10 and a half months, I was pretty much a body snatcher. But that sounds like such like a I robbed graves type vibe. But I swear to you, it was completely illegal.
I took up bodies
Uh,
at night.
and I gave them to this dude on the corner that was paying handsomely. No, uh, being around just people that have passed away, people that like, do you feel something, energy? To be completely honest with you, I have never felt a thing. No, I have stood. This sounds so weird. If like, if you like just don't know me, like this is so weird. If I'm just explaining this, but like just standing over a corpse that has like someone that passed away in their house in their bed, and you're like kind of like removing them from their home. People are like, do you feel them, a presence or something? Do you feel like corner of your eye kind of stuff? You literally don't feel anything, and it feels like a person. Like you see a person that's like a stranger to you, but usually you could feel like if someone is standing directly behind you, you can like feel their presence, like their
Yeah.
warmth, and you like feel something is there. I have gotten inches from people. Again, this sounds horrible, but I have gotten just so close to people just like doing like just funeral stuff. I have it like you feel like an inanimate object is just inches from you. Like you just don't feel anything. It's so bizarre. You like you want to feel something, but you just don't. And I think that relates back to like you wanting there to be something, so you like try to like play that off of like, yeah, I think they're like with us right now. But for me, and it's uh the staff that I work with, they were kind of like the same vibes of like you just don't we don't let stuff bother us with like dealing with like the more morbid stuff of things, but like never did anybody bring up like religion or any kind of like energy or something. So it like wasn't just me. So like being around that kind of environment, especially like for an extended period of time, yes, I did sleep in funeral homes because the house was far away and I was working the next day and I worked overnights and whatever. I have never experienced any kind of energy, any kind of presence, any kind of corner of the eye stuff. So with my extended knowledge in the afterlife, I guess it's just not there, and like the soul has just moved on, and now we just have a body to get rid of, and that's the whole point.
That's what's fascinating. Yeah, I feel like if there was something, you probably would have felt something there. But fascinating. Well, any last ideas before we wrap up? And I guess we could just throw out a topic for the next one moving forward.
Mm. Okay, in conclusion, uh, Aaron Goodwin is God. Aaron Goodwin, like he's like right. No, okay, Jesus maybe, and then and then Aaron Goodwin. um, Ghosts completely ridiculous. Aliens exist without a doubt, and we need to transfer the funds from space either into Zach Bagans' pocket or deep sea expedition. But paranormal stuff, ghosts no, aliens yes, Bigfoot no.
It's a
Stop.
hard maybe.
It's a definite maybe.
Well, I mean, you talked about deep sea. Should we go into oceans next?
Oh, we want to go into pulsating cephalopods.
The anglerfish.
We go be just keep swimming.
I think that's a good next topic. It's decided.
Okay. Deep sea expedition. Look out for it here on Into the Void, where we stay on topic but then go on extended tangents. All right, that wraps up episode 3 of In the Void. This has been Daniel and Nick talking about paranormal stuff and how Aaron Goodwin is 2 steps short of a god.
Until next time, guys.
Yeah.
See you then.
Stay weird.